what becomes the restriction? And the only restriction becomes time.
And of course, this is like a result of society, because how many times you hear people say like time is money, time is money. Like we put them in the same box as a society. Like that's mind-blowing to me. If you have not seen the video that I stitched before of hers, go check it out, but also like go follow her, because she has like spent some truth that has literally been like realigning, adjusting like crazy for me for the past like 2 weeks. I've been going through this like unlearning and relearning process a lot over the past like 6 months, but also specifically like the past 3 months. And seeing her videos, like it gave me the last little bit of like wording and tools and knowledge that I needed to like completely fill in the gaps and like rewrite what it is that I've been like needing to rewrite in my brain, if that makes sense. And it's really weird because part of it is like leaving things open, not rewriting things, just unwriting them, or like introducing the exact opposing like energy, but understanding that they can exist at the same exact time and allowing that to be enough. I am a very like complex human with a very complex brain. Like I have a whole like internal world that is my operating like system. Honestly, like it's very much like just like a computer system. So this whole like unlearning and relearning thing has been very complex as well. So if you're like me and you have struggled with limiting beliefs, if you don't know what limiting beliefs are or lack mindset is or anything like that, just go follow her and watch her most recent videos, because like she really words things in a really great way that like strikes you on a deep, not only like spiritual level, but a mental level. And it's great to have those things come together, especially for somebody like me. I'm going to try to summarize the topic and then talk about what I've been kind of going through with my unlearning and relearning and unwriting and rewriting, but also leaving things unwritten, because that's really what it's all about, is not limiting it. So I'm about to try and do that now. The main thing is that like as a society or as a people, as humans, especially people that live in the good old United States, where everything is hard work and like you have to work to earn a dollar and all this, you know, like all this other stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like really value hard work and I'm a very hard worker, but like our society has driven it to a point of where it's like hard work equals survival, and that is ingrained in us as a society. And so part of this unwriting has been like, I habitually will automatically go, you know, this could come to me in countless ways. And then I'll start thinking of the ways that this, like something could come to me. So like she used the example of money and time, because we have put them in a bucket together as a society. So say that I'm like wanting to manifest or bring in $100,000. I'm going to say, you know, because I work in the film industry, I'm going to go like, oh, I could get on a movie that, you know, will pay me a lot of money because it may be a very high tier. And over the next 6 months, I can make $100,000 from that movie. And that is a limiting belief. It's a realistic belief, but it's also a limiting belief, because if I say that's a realistic belief, then it's something where it's like, oh, well, I could just randomly get a call on the phone and it could be somebody from the government that is like, hey, so we noticed that like on all of your taxes, we've taken way too much money out. So here is $100,000, you know, or something like that. Like, I know that sounds outlandish, but believing that that's not likely and feeling like that's on the opposite scale of working to get the $100,000 is still a limiting belief. They're both limiting in different directions. Now, this is where I introduce something that comes from like 2 different things that I heard on TikTok, because TikTok is such an amazing tool, that I heard on here from 2 different creators. If you know either of them, please tag them in the comments. I cannot remember them, and I don't even remember the video or how long ago it was that I saw either of them, but it was 2 different concepts. One was talking about using the law of assumption, or just like assuming, right? So like they specifically worded it, and that's what it is to be a lucky girl, is just to assume the best. If you have to assume the best. And so I've been like jokingly, but also seriously been like, I'm in my lucky girl era. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, then I'm going to start assuming the best. The other thing that I saw that was a different concept, but very similar, that I've been using together is simply deciding. So like, I'm simply deciding X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to apply both of those things to what it is that, like, the $100,000. So I would say, okay, I'm simply deciding that I'm going to make $100,000 in a very short time period to help me out with like financially for things that I'm wanting right now. And I realized I hate that I'm using money as the topic, because we just talked about how money and like time can be limitations for people, but we're just going to go with it. Okay. So say that I say, I'm simply deciding that in the next, you know, 3 months or 6 months, 3 to 6 months, I'm going to make $100,000. I'm going to bring in $100,000. Okay. So say that I simply decided that every single thing that I then step into, I'm going to assume the best. Say that there's an opportunity that pops up and that opportunity allows me to make some money. So say that there's a movie that pops up and they're like, hey, well, we need you for about a month. Can you come work? And say that like at the end of that movie, I would end up making like $20,000. And I'm like, well, that's not my $100,000. I'm going to assume the best. I'm going to assume, you know what? This is part of it. That's part of the $100,000, if that makes sense. But then say that movie falls through. I'm not going to go, well, I decided that I was going to get $100,000 and now I can't even get $20,000. No, I'm going to assume the best. I'm going to go, oh, okay. So that movie that was going to be bringing me $20,000 was going to get in the way of my $100,000 within 3 to 6 months that I'm wanting right now. So, I'm going to assume it was getting in my way and now the universe moved it out of my way. Thank you, universe. My issue and the thing that I've been running into is that I then try to calculate, well, then how could it bring it to me? But that's the thing. Stop trying to figure out how it's going to bring it to you and just be open to the possibility. I am somebody that like operates big time off of possibilities. Like that's literally, I talked about this in the other video that I stitched when I was out just like walking around whenever she and I were like having this conversation through the comments and through like stitching and stuff like that. And so, whenever I started working in film, which is my dream career, I literally was like, you know what, good things can happen for me. And I know that sounds silly to like, but we're conditioned to believe that pessimism is realism. And so if you're constantly walking around realistic, but it's not actually realism, it's pessimism, then you're going to be viewing things from a pessimistic lens. And then you're not going to be open to the opportunities of things that could be optimistic or even realistic for that matter. And so me shifting my mind and being like, you know what, I'm going to start focusing on the positive possibilities. That was great for that time period because it broke that negative mindset for me. But now it's limiting me because I'm going, okay, these positive possibilities could happen. But then when they don't happen, I get discouraged. And I'm like, well, what other positive possibilities could come from here? And so that's where you have to stop looking at the possibilities. And I actually, honestly, to break myself from that, started entertaining impossibilities. What was something that I believed could be impossible and imagining that would happen in the situation and lead whatever it was that I was wanting to me. An example of this could be that, like, say that I was like wanting a movie to film in my location so I wouldn't have to travel a lot and it would bring me a lot of money. And say that there's been a lot of limitations on the movie. And so I would go, well, one possibility is blah, 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 whatever else. I would go, what's impossible? You know what? Or like highly unlikely, an elephant is going to fall through the roof in front of these people deciding locations. And for some reason that is going to make them decide to film in this location where I'm at. Maybe like they were deciding to go with a different place and then the elephant fell through the roof and they could not find anywhere else in that location that matched what they were looking for. So now they decided to route back around to where I was at. That sounds crazy, but it's possible. When I literally said, oh, what's impossible, I came up with another possibility that was highly unlikely. There is literally a movie that is based off a true story, and it's a terrible movie and very sad because of how animals were treated, but where they literally like had to move an elephant across countries, and what they did, the like only feasible way to do it was to do it via helicopter, to literally lift it up in like a cage or like have it tied, and it just was like hovering in the air. Something like that could happen that you don't even think of. But here's the thing, to implement that is still a limiting belief, to believe that's the only way that something could happen. So when you introduce the impossibilities and you introduce the possibilities, don't pick out what that looks like in your head. Just simply decide that you're going to get what it is that you're wanting. Be open to the possibilities, but don't pick how it looks. Just entertain how it feels. Entertain the energy. Entertain like what it is that you are bringing in, like as if you already have it. But don't get in the universe's way and don't get in your way because you have no idea what is possible. No idea. None whatsoever. You have no idea what things in the past people thought were impossible until they happened. And I talked about this in another TikTok. People thought that going to outer space was impossible until it happened, There's been a lot more to this process for me than just this, but this is a very quick summary. But if you're wondering, have I seen changes in my life just from implementing this and changing this? Yes, I have. There are things and there are like opportunities because I have my own company, my own small production company, and I went through a lot of hardship with it. But now things are really starting to look up, and it started with me shifting my mindset this way. Opportunities that I thought had passed me by have routed back around in much more positive ways than what they would have originally, and even new opportunities have brought themselves to me. But I have not rushed it. I've just allowed it to happen. And I haven't limited what it looks like.